Most of us have been there, right? You hear the dentist say the word cavity, and you just assume it's a one-way street that ends with a drill and a filling. But what if that wasn't the whole story? Today, we're digging into a pretty wild claim from our source material that you might actually be able to reverse tooth decay right from your own home.
So let's just dive right in with the statement from our source. The claim here isn't just that you can stop decay in its tracks. No, it's that you can potentially reverse it, even after it's gotten past the enamel and reached that sensitive inner layer of your tooth, the dentin. I mean, that's a huge claim, right? So, how in the world is that supposed to work?
Well, before we can even get into the solution, we have to make sure we're all on the same page about the problem. Because according to our source, the real enemy we're fighting, well, it might not be what you think it is.
And this right here is the first absolutely crucial distinction. We throw the words caries and cavity around like they're the same thing, but they're not. Not at all. Caries is the process. It's the active bacterial infection that's happening. The cavity, that's just the final symptom, the physical hole that's left when the tooth caves in. Getting this difference is key to everything else.
Okay, so if caries is the infection, who's the villain in this story? Let me introduce you to Streptococcus mutans. This is the bad guy. It's a bacteria that absolutely loves sugar, and when it eats that sugar, it produces acid that dissolves your teeth. But its real superpower, it creates these sticky little tendrils that let it build a whole colony on your tooth, and that's when the real destruction begins.
So here's the attack plan, laid out in 4 steps. First, that acid starts dissolving minerals, creating these tiny weak spots in your enamel. Second, Strep mutans uses sugar to latch onto those very spots. Third, the bacteria multiply like crazy, producing even more acid and tunneling deeper and deeper into your tooth. And finally, the whole weakened structure just gives way. It collapses, and boom, that's your cavity.
All right, so we know the enemy, we know their game plan. Now, how do we fight back? While the battle always begins on the surface, with our first and most important line of defense, our tooth enamel.
And here's the amazing part. Your body is already trying to fight back. The source actually calls our saliva a miracle worker because it's naturally loaded with the exact minerals your teeth need to repair themselves. So, our job is just to create the right environment for that to happen. That means, number 1, limit sugar to starve those bad bacteria. Then, we use tools like xylitol to get more of that mineral-rich saliva flowing, and use certain rinses to basically hit the accelerator on that natural healing process. And if you're wondering, does this stuff actually make a difference? Well, take a look at this. The difference is pretty staggering. A new adult tooth, just on its own, takes about a full year to completely harden and mature. But with a targeted system like the one described in our source, you can slash that time down to just 3 months. We're talking 4 times faster.
Okay, so healing the surface. That makes sense. We can get behind that. But now we're getting to the really impossible part of the claim. How do you stop decay that is already tunneled deep inside the tooth?
See, here's the problem with deep decay. Even if you manage to heal the enamel around a tiny little hole, that opening acts like a secret pipeline. Every time you eat or drink something sugary, it goes right down that pipeline and directly feeds that colony of bacteria that's just thriving deep inside your tooth. They have a constant food supply, and they can just keep on doing their damage.
The source uses a really powerful and simple way to think about this. It's a feeding straw, and as long as that straw is open, there's no way to stop the infection inside. So the big question is, how do you seal that straw? And the strategy is actually the reverse of what you'd probably think. Instead of trying to plug the hole from the outside, this system uses special rinses to target the deeper bacteria first. Once you get that internal infection under control, the enamel on the surface can finally heal over completely. You create a solid barrier, and you literally starve any bacteria that might be left inside.
And this is where your body's own incredible biology takes over. Once that external attack is stopped and the surface is sealed, the tooth's own internal repair crew gets to work. There are these amazing cells called odontoblasts, and they start rebuilding the damaged area from the inside out. You're not just putting a patch on the tooth, you're creating the conditions for it to actually heal itself.
Okay, this all sounds incredible, right? But, and this is a really big but, this is not a magic wand. It's not an overnight fix. It takes time. So let's talk about what a realistic timeline for this kind of healing actually looks like.
You really need to get this timeline in your head. For decay that's just on the surface, just in the enamel, yeah, you might see a reversal in as little as 3 to 4 months. But for that deeper decay we've been talking about, the stuff that gets into the dentin, you have got to be patient. It might take a full year before you can even see changes starting to show up on an X-ray, and significant healing could take 1 to 2 years.
Now this is maybe the most important takeaway of all. This is absolutely not about firing your dentist or ignoring their advice. It's about empowering yourself to have a different kind of conversation with them. The goal is to partner with them, to show them you're serious about improving your oral health, and to ask for a little bit of time to see if your own body can do the healing work before you both decide on a more invasive option like a filling.
And why go through all this trouble? Why put in all this effort? This quote from the source really says it all. Because at the end of the day, no filling, no crown, nothing man-made will ever be as strong, as beautiful, or as long-lasting as your own natural tooth.
So we want to leave you with this one thought to chew on. What if a cavity isn't a final verdict? What if it's not the end of the story, but actually a call to action? The beginning of your own personal healing journey. Thanks for tuning in.